Hey, Paul.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
The reason I wanted to chat with you was because the Tap Truck franchise, I'm seeing more and more of them lately, and something is always I've always wondered, how did Tap Truck get you guys to drill holes into your classic trucks?
That's a good question. Well, luckily for me, I didn't actually have to drill any holes into my truck because I added the stake side, the wood to the side of my bed on my
Oh,
truck.
that's right. That's right. Because you've got one of the older, like 34 classic trucks that's
Hmm.
got the wooden rails on the back of it, right?
Correct. Yep. Yep. But yeah, taking a classic vehicle like that and punching a hole in the side of it is it's a little sacrilegious.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk to me about your build. So I noticed that the back of it, you've got the wooden rails, and you guys put a canvas cover over it, look like.
Correct. Yeah, I wanted to kind of have a be able to hide some of the equipment in the back to make it less obvious what's in there. A couple reasons for that was, light colored canvas on a hot day will, hopefully help keep the temperatures down.
Yeah.
And, it also, hides the equipment from, people who are just nosy, but I always end up showing them what we have back there because people are very curious about what makes it work? How does it run? How do you keep everything cold? So we get into a discussion about that, and it's pretty interesting. A lot of it's a rolling conversation piece. It's pretty crazy, but
Yeah. Yeah,
but
you guys are fairly new at this, right? You guys didn't launch that long ago.
no, we only launched what was it last officially last June, July. Um, should have probably kept up with my social media campaign ahead of time. So I kind of started on that stuff pretty late, but um, getting out there and meeting vendors and different venues around the area, connecting with them and just running ad campaigns on Facebook and I've yet to do some TikTok videos. I need to get into that as well. So, but yeah, if you want to hear more about the build,
Yeah.
well, I guess I'll back up a little bit. What got us into this whole crazy thing with Tap Truck was good friends of ours, old schoolmate from my wife, Marla. They've known each other since they were like 4 years old. They grew up in the same town. Anyway, him and her husband, her wife lived down in Galveston, and they had just were talking about doing this tap truck thing, and they met Corbin out in San Diego, and they were really excited about it. Just kind of looking for a little side gig for Shauna to run. It's Shauna and Robert Boyette. And so they were telling us about it. We thought that was pretty cool. Never thought really much else about it after that. And as time went on, I was looking more and more like, hey, I think I want to take, do something different because I was working full time for Lockheed as an engineer, and I was really wanting to do something different. So looking to retire early. I was looking at all these different options, different things I could do and start my own business or whatever. I wasn't really sure. And then my wife Marla says to me one day, she goes, "What about that tap truck thing that Shauna and Robert are doing?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But, you know, I mean, where are we going to get the money for that kind of thing?" So anyway, talked to them a lot about it, picked their brains about, starting a business. And I mean, just, it felt like I was on that phone and text messaging them, those guys every day. And they were waiting on their truck because the guys out in San Diego were actually building it for them.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so that was the option is that you could buy one of their trucks, which was already made or near completion, or you could, provide your own truck.
Okay.
And I didn't like any of their trucks. They just didn't work for me, and I wanted something more, you know, vintage, classic, something, it kind of embodied the Cowtown Fort Worth, spirit, kind of the
Yeah.
old West. And one of my friends talking one night, and he asked me if I could come and help him work on one of his vehicles. And I went out to his barn and his grandfather just passed away and left him the estate. And he had a bunch of, classic cars and trucks and things like that. And he goes, well, if you're looking for a truck, I got one. He showed me this little red 34 Ford sitting in the corner of the garage. And I fell in love. I was like, that's it. That's the truck. And of course now she's not red anymore, but we stripped her down right down to the bare frame and
Wow.
built it back up again. So I spent a year and a half doing that and
Wow.
a small fortune.
Yeah. Now, is
But
that a requirement from Tap Truck that you did that, or you were like, this has to be a showpiece?
it wasn't so much a showpiece. It wasn't a requirement. I mean, I think Tap Truck would like you to have a running vehicle so you can bring your taps to, drive up or whatever. But some people do trailer theirs because they are, older vehicles. So reliability, rather than just kind of mitigate some of that breaking down on the way to a gig,
Yeah.
which funny story that actually happened to us um, on our first time out.
No.
Yeah. And it's crazy because everything in that truck was pretty much brand new.
Yeah.
We uh, we had a clogged fuel filter. Strangest thing. I mean, even the gas tank was brand new in this truck. We have no idea. It's like someone had filled our fuel tank with sand,
Mm.
and it died about halfway there. We didn't need a showpiece. We needed a truck that looked good. Was something that catches people's eyes. We wanted it to be neutral, so brides and grooms would really want to have their pictures taken with it. So it
Yeah.
becomes, part of their event, their ceremony, part of their memories. So that was important to us, and that's why we ended up. I chose a real classic Wimbledon white, which is an old Ford color.
Okay.
I, it just fit, and I left a few of the little things in the truck that were original to it or original to the original owner, which was kind of a nod to Grandpa. And so we left the red and white, candy stripe interior,
Mm.
and I had the the wheels powder coated red to kind of bring some of the red outside the truck, and on each valve cover of the engine, the grandfather had this is my buddy Tyler. Tyler's grandfather actually worked at Lockheed
Oh, wow.
as an engineer years ago, and he did some skunk works projects for them as a machinist. And so on each of the valve covers, I have a little skunk works skunk coin on each valve cover. It's just kind of a homage to
Nice.
Grandpa. So keeping the memory alive and his little project because that was
Yeah.
his little truck, his little fun thing to mess around with. So
Yeah. It's nice throwing those little details in there.
yeah, exactly. And the conversation pieces because people see things like that and they go, what's the story behind that? Why do I know that skunk? Get into a story about, the background on it. So people like to make those connections, I think, which is
Yeah.
important.
So for those of us don't know what Cowtown is, what's Cowtown?
Oh, so Cowtown, um, here in Fort Worth, is essentially like the original, I guess you'd say the center of Fort Worth, the downtown was the stockyards. If anybody's seen any of those shows that they did, like Yellowstone in
Mm.
1886 and stuff, they talk about Fort Worth as Hell's Half Acre, and it was just a little old west town, and it was where everybody who was going west or either north or south, kind of the middle of the United States, everybody seemed to come through Fort Worth.
Okay.
So it was a huge trading area for people gearing up to push west, but it was also kind of a hub for cattle and livestock.
Okay.
So it just kind of became this place where, it was cow town. That people wanted cows. They wanted, this is the place they would come. And the stockyards had railroads coming in from different directions from all over the place. And they would bring cattle into the stockyards
Mm.
and folks would come down there, farmers, ranchers, to bid on and buy or trade cattle and livestock. Also, another big one was mules. Mules
Okay.
are huge as well. There's actually a place in stockyard. It's called Mule Alley, um, which is actually the kind of the street that goes through. You get the main street and stockyards, and then you go down a little bit, take a right, and it's down Mule Alley, and then actually um, not tees into, but comes right up to the Hotel Drover, which is a really nice like boutique cowboy hotel,
Hmm.
and it's absolutely stunning place. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, Cowtown, that's it's kind of a long-winded version of it, but
And so I asked because you named it the Cowtown Queen, right? That's the reference
correct.
to the truck, right?
Yes, because that was the thing. We wanted to, like I was saying earlier, we wanted to kind of embody that Fort Worth, that Cowtown
Yeah.
spirit of this area, and it's such a unique town. People think of like Fort Worth, or they think of Dallas, Fort Worth. Well, they are two distinctly different towns. Dallas is more, kind of industry, oil town like Houston, whereas Fort Worth itself is very much, ranchers and cowboys and kind of more of the Old West.
Yeah.
And it's kind of original to this area. So we just thought it would be fitting to have this beautiful, truck. I guess men have a way of naming their vehicles, after women, or
Yeah.
she's this and she's that, or
Yeah.
and it just seemed to fit. And
Yeah.
like I gotta have a name for her. And I threw around some names, and Cowtown Queen just kind of stuck.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had painted it white, mainly because you wanted something neutral for the brides. But you also mentioned like corporate gigs. And what's your long-term goal as far as renting this? Do you envision more of a bridal thing or a wedding thing, or do you see yourself in front of the stadium in town at more corporate gigs? Like what's your future look like?
I think when we first were thinking about this idea, envisioning it, it was going to be more like bridals, special events, and things like that. But as we learn more about tap truck and what other tap truck owners were doing around the country, we found out that, bridals, weddings are very seasonal to some extent.
Mhm.
Um, and we wanted to think, what can we do to keep ourselves more, I guess, steady throughout the year? So we talked to some other owners, and they were like, yeah, corporate events, are big. They're always throwing some kind of function, or, wanting to celebrate their employees, or end a quarter, this, or end a year that. So we started, just to kind of say, look, this is what we're going to do. Whatever event someone wants us at, they want something unique, like what
Mhm.
we have to offer. It's just classic chrome, white, pretty. Um, it's a statement piece, and it just fits in. It really does. It doesn't matter if it's a, backyard barbecue, or a black tie wedding, or we did a corporate gig not that long ago. We were hired to go to Arlington Backyard, which is this big outdoor venue. It's right there next to Cowboy Stadium, and it's what do they call it? The Arlington Backyard. It's what do they call it? Oh, shoot, I remember, forget the name of it. But there's this whole area. They got a new hotel there. They've got the Cowboy Stadium. They got just put the brand new ballpark for the Texas Rangers. So it kind of
Okay.
sits right in the middle of that. And
Okay.
but Arlington Backyard has a big stage, and it's multi-layered, and it's surrounded by restaurants and bars, and it's really kind of a fun place for people to go and hang out, and just has a quite a busy nightlife. Fort Worth here, it's during the summer months, it's pretty damn hot. So a lot of people don't want to be outside.
Hmm.
So a lot of things come alive at night.
Okay.
Venues like that, um, even though it's open air, it's a pretty comfortable place. So they had us pull in, and we parked the truck right in front of the stage, and it was a big like internet security company. And just so happens one of the things they were planning on, and it's funny because they were planning their event, and they were calling it the like the end of year tap in or something like that, which they had a big old beer tap, pouring into a cup and all that. And they reached out to us because they had seen the tap truck thing. And I'm like, that's perfect. And it just worked out really well because it just fit in there. Everybody's just wearing, jeans and t-shirts, and
Yeah.
it had a live band on the stage right in front of right behind the truck, playing 80s and 90s tunes, and it was great. We had all six taps going. We had two bartenders actually from the facility that were bartending for us. So me and my other partner Michael, we just stood around and talked to people, talked about the truck, talked about all kinds of things, traded business cards. I mean, it was a fun night. It worked out well because the way the venue is set up there, they um, they have like a contract, different breweries, so they only serve like
Okay.
certain beers there,
Yeah.
and so they could only use their servers because of the insurance and things like that. So literally all they were doing is basically renting the truck from us, and we were there to babysit it, make sure it
Yeah.
ran well. So,
I like the idea of the tap truck franchise and what they're doing with the, the classic trucks and cars and
mhm.
the it's got more of a corporate appeal to it, and it's got, it screams, somebody that's got like a $50,000 budget for a party or a corporate event or something at the end of the, end of the year, or just something they're doing for their employees. They're like, okay, how can we add to this party, right? So you're not dealing with
Sure.
your bride and groom that has a set budget for their wedding. You're dealing with somebody that, has the budget for it, and they're just writing the checks. It's not their money. They don't care. Like, it's easier for them to say, "Hey, let's rent the tap truck in town because we know it looks good, it's professional, it's got a name behind it."
Yeah.
Um, so I've always loved that idea and that feeling you get with the classic truck.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it just seems to fit in just about anywhere. It doesn't feel awkward. Um, and being in this Texas, it just you think Texas and cowboys and ranches and pickup trucks, so it
And
works.
the cheerleaders.
And the cheerleaders,
Don't
yep,
forget the
that
cheerleaders.
too. Yeah, we had actually one of the events we did was we did an ice cream social, and we ran all the taps with I did root beer, so we did root beer floats, we did Coca-Cola, Fanta, orange.
Hmm.
What else did I do? Dr. Pepper, and we had all that. We kegged all that. That was an interesting, fun time because I had to learn how to recarbonate soda. It was fun.
So
Um,
did you buy 2 liters, or what did you do?
it was so I spent probably I don't know, maybe a couple months prior to the event. I was trying to plan, like figure out, okay, how can I get kegs of soda? Well, nobody does. You can't get kegs of soda.
Mhm.
Um, there was a couple of distributors that you could actually get like sixtels of root beer, and but every place else had them, little Mylar bags like they use at most restaurants and
Yeah.
soda fountains and that kind of thing. And we weren't sure how we were going to make that work. So then we were looking at carbonating all the water and adding in the and after talking to some of our other fellow tap truckers out there, they've had some experience serving soft drinks at other events. So I said, yeah, the best thing to do and the cheapest thing to do, buy 2 liters and pour them in there. And then, obviously make sure everything's sanitized. And I had to get uh, like a recarbonation stones. So, which is kind of cool. They actually make a lid for the corny kegs that I have that has a stone already made built onto it with a
Mhm.
connector. And so you literally just put that cover on, seal it up, and put the CO2 on there. A little bit of trial and error, because I'd never really done it before. So I was
Yeah.
having to like put the soda in, chill it down. Luckily, I have a big fridge out in my shop, and we were able to load up all the cornies out there and get them chilled down because they take the carbonation a lot easier, gets into solution
Yep.
better when they're cold. So
Yep.
I had to do that and then figure out how long to put the CO2 on there for, and so there was some math going on and things that I'm no chemist or but we figured it out and it worked out all right. So and we were at this really fancy Omni hotel up in Frisco, Texas, and it was for what's the group called? NOAA, I think the NOAA. It's the National Owners Association. You think of McDonald's as a corporation, right? They're corporate owners, but then there are the owners who own the McDonald's franchises. They actually have their own organization that's nationwide. Actually, I think it's worldwide, but it's NOAA, and they had some folks reach out to us to contract us for this ice cream social. So the hotel came out with like these big stainless steel bowls of like scoops of ice cream, and they had their guy there, and he's just like, you know, scooping, big old look like snowballs of ice cream into these cups, and we're just saying, hey, what do you guys want? We'll let people serve it themselves. Some people wanted us to kind of pull the soda for them, and
Yeah.
we had the cherries and the whipped cream and the whole nine yards. And there was kids there too. That's the other thing is they wanted to make it fun for everybody. So it was more of a corporate family event, and yeah, it was pretty fun. And we thought that's another cool thing that we could do. Somebody could rent our truck and rent our time. And we can come out and do same thing for somebody's birthday party. You know, so
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like it. When I got married a long time ago, and when I made all of our beer for the wedding, and then I made like a 8 tap bar with our jockey boxes, and then I wanted like I think I had like 6 things on tap, and then I wanted 2 things of soda, and
okay.
so I had tried making my own soda, and I couldn't get it cold enough to get it carbonated enough, and so I'd gotten some old plastic kegs from a local brewer
Mm.
that makes their own root beer. So I got one of their root beers, and I was going to make a couple different sodas on my end. But that was the only attempt I've ever done to try to make soda. But we recently joined the International Beverage Dispensing Equipment Association, which was started a long time ago from the soda companies. And they've got a conference coming up here at the beginning of March that I'm going to, and they
Oh,
have
cool.
they're mainly geared towards soda, and I'm really looking forward to networking with their group because I really want to figure that out. So
Mm.
something I've been kind of going towards in 2025 here is to figure out how we can dispense soda better.
Oh,
Because
sure.
we've been so beer focused for so long, and we've taught people how to do wine and how to make their own champagne if they want. But on the soda side, it seems to be becoming more popular. NA options going down that road, and I think it's an untapped market that I think needs looking into. So kind of
Yeah,
curious.
that's yeah, curious. It's interesting because kind of tie into that a little bit. So the company that contracted us for the soda, the ice cream social, they're a valving and measuring company for high pressure gases, mostly CO2 and nitrogen.
Okay.
So they have the company's called Pulsa, I think. I don't know if they're out of California. I forget, maybe Midwest. I have to look in some of their emails that I got from them, but they wanted to tap into the restaurant market. Like McDonald's is huge because they're
Mhm.
worldwide. So the idea is, McDonald's has these giant cans of nitrogen or CO2, I should say, that sit there that probably, I don't know how many pound tanks they are, but they're probably 6 or 8 feet tall.
Mhm.
Big stainless steel, vessels of pressurized gas, and they don't move those tanks. Say if somebody comes when they need them to and replenishes their CO2.
Yeah.
But the way that they measure it, I guess it was one of those things where it's really old school. Like they might have a pressure gauge or something, and when it gets to a certain pressure, I guess they kind of figure, or they go by how many sodas they serve, or I'm not sure how they measure it. But this company, Pulsa, has a way to through their valving system, it measures flow and everything else, and temperature, and I guess they can also weigh the tank as well. So it starts off with an empty tank weight, and then obviously they add the CO2 in there and adds weight as well. So they have a way to get it down, and they could add a system where you're getting low, it'll automatically order your CO2 delivery for you.
Mm.
Um, Kind of an interesting. kind of setup. So they were talking to a lot of, I don't know what the trade show was that was going on at the time. It was kind of, they planned this whole thing around the time that beverage folks were going to be around. McDonald's is going to be around for this trade show.
Okay.
So they had a chance to chat, maybe work up some deals.
Yeah.
And they thought it was really cool that, that we had this truck, and they're like, "Oh, what do you?" They thought the truck was Pulse's truck, and Pulse was like, "Oh no, we hired these guys to do this for us." And I said, "Yeah, my little rinky-dink 20-pound CO2 tank is a little too basic for that fancy system, but it was a
Yeah.
good
What?
conversation starter, because people were wondering how, like, what makes the soda come out the tap?" And it's like, it's pretty easy. It's a CO2 tank and a regulator.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're
Most,
describing that are normally you see in some of the larger breweries, or even I
hmm
guess some of the smaller breweries, but they generally have huge tanks,
Oh,
outside there.
sure.
'Cause they go through so much that the large tanks that they can just pull from is easier,
hmm
or they're smaller bottles.
Yeah. So that we're hoping to get more business from them. So down the road. So we'll see. We'll hopefully get some return customers, which would be nice. And
Yeah.
the weddings are good too, because we've run into a lot of different venues and a lot of different wedding planners. A lot of them work kind of independent from the venues. So the brides and grooms will kind of contract them, if you will, to plan their wedding or kind of arrange things or whatnot. So getting on their list is a pretty big deal.
So are you cold calling? What are you how are you approaching the venues in your area to get on their list, or even the planners? Like, how are you reaching out to them?
Well, one thing we're working on is, I'm kind of new to this, entrepreneur thing and marketing and whatnot. So I'm kind of learning as I go, but a lot of folks I've tapped into through Tap Truck, that been very helpful with different ways of kind of approaching. But yeah, it's mostly just cold calling. I was running social media, try to do that weekly. And then I was running ads, kind of specific market ads out into Facebook. So that was pinging a lot of people. I didn't get a lot of return on that, but I think it got people talking. The amount of people to reach out to. Maybe someone mentioned it to someone else, and, word of mouth kind of thing. But the other thing I did is I looked at my area of operation around Fort Worth, and I kind of drew like a rudimentary map of where my area is. And I said, okay, if I swing a dead cat, how many of these places am I going to hit? Well, I come up with probably close to 60 or 70 venues that do special events. Some are real, just, you know, simple little function hall, beautiful is, and they, beautiful barns and landscaping, that whole thing. So I just kind of put together a marketing package that we kind of advertise, and tried to build like a digital brochure, if you will, and just send it out to these people. And then also I was calling, getting the numbers, calling them, and trying to get speak to the right person. Because most of the places that I reached out to, they have, brides and grooms,
Yeah.
reaching out to them. When's your date? How many people? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's not what I'm trying to contact you for. So I had to figure out a way to kind of get through that wall, if you will. So it took a little bit and a little persistence, but cold calling and the ads running and the digital brochure has helped a lot. I think some word of mouth and social media too, because a lot of people um, see some of the tap truck stuff come up in and around Fort Worth, and I try to hashtag or kind of get onto some of the other groups like the wedding planners, wedding organizers, the home brewers, different brewery, um, Facebook pages and things. There's a bunch of bartending, event planner, Facebook pages. So I just kind of tag all those to kind of boost how much people see, see the tap truck come up on their feed.
Yeah.
And as I started doing that, it kind of started, pinging the algorithm. So it's more and more things you would, reach out to, you would see something regarding tap truck. And that's helped too, because I mean, when you go to like Google right now, you just tap truck Fort Worth or mobile beer truck Fort Worth, we come up first thing, boom. There's a few other people around here that are doing something similar. Like the big thing was horse trailers.
Hmm.
They're taking these horse trailers and converting them.
Yep.
Um, and there's another guy somebody said he has a VW van, uh, the bubble truck or something it's called. He
Okay.
does like champagne, but there really isn't anything else like that around here. So I was, trying to focus on the uniqueness of what we have to offer. And, this is I don't know, Fort Worth's kind of fun town.
It sounded like you've got a network of help from the tap truck community. And it seems like maybe you guys are able to communicate with each other.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I guess you pretty much communicate with anybody in the tap truck kind of family because we're all under that same Tap Truck USA umbrella,
Hmm.
even though we're all independent, businesses. Because we're not franchises, we're licensees.
Okay.
So we basically purchase a license from Tap Truck in order to use their name and marketing and materials and some proprietary things, to belong to that family, if you will. I didn't even have to call my truck Tap Truck. I could have called it something else. Could have been Paul's Beer Wagon. It wouldn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
So it's but yeah, like I said, it's a pretty big group. I mean, I think there's probably maybe 150 trucks around the world. Yeah, all the tap trucks are all over the U.S. And there's a few that are overseas as well, from what I understand. But we reach out to we have a Facebook owners group. We communicate through there, and personal emails with some of the other tap truck owners that we've gotten to know a little more personally. But we can always put the question out there. It's like, hey, I got this issue. How do I fix this? Or what are you
Yeah.
folks doing with this? Or what are you folks doing with that? And then we also have a tap truck owners meeting. We do like a Zoom meeting. Not everybody participates, but you can kind of log in and log out as you want. Um, and they talk about anything and everything. People have questions. We talk about different marketing strategies or what other trucks are doing in different areas, what's worked, what hasn't worked, success stories, things like that. It's kind of like and then we have the Tap Truck, um, Facebook page where people are constantly posting things to that as well. So you get the exposure on everybody else's Tap Truck page along with Tap Truck USA. So if you're using your hashtags correctly, you're boosting each other's algorithm back and forth. And if you make comments on, someone's post or whatnot, it even helps out even more. But having that group of people to source for information and support is it's pretty big. I mean, considering
Yeah,
you're
I love
you're
that.
you,
That's huge. Having a group of people that are doing the exact same thing, all striving towards the same goal, all in different locations.
Mhm.
There's something cooperative about that. And I think that's how the beer industry, there's a pull to the beer industry, or there was, 10 years ago,
Oh, for craft
where
brewing, especially, yeah.
yeah, where everybody was cooperating and everybody was sharing hops, everybody was sharing grain. And if you were a brewery across town, like the brewers knew each other, the owners knew each
Hmm.
other, and they were just like, yeah, I mean, we're in kind of competition, but also with people that go to your brewery are also going to go to like your brewery are going to go to my brewery and vice versa. Like we're kind of competing for the same customers, but we can do this together, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And that was so appealing to in the industry and to work with the beer industry and to be part of it. And it was so different right off the bat. And there's just something comforting about that when people are working together. And I love that you guys do that.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Yeah, I noticed there was a time when I actually seriously considered starting my own small brewery. But that's a story for another time, I think. But I remember like being pretty heavily involved during the whole craft brew thing when it was coming
Mhm.
up. It seemed like here we were going from, recycled lobster pot, boiling my wort and putting it in used corny kegs. I was finding on like eBay and stuff.
Yeah,
And now it's like you go on anywhere. And I mean, there's home brew shops down the street. You could buy new and fancy equipment,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. But yeah, I belong to what was the group called? We call themselves Beaver. It was the
Is it a homebrew club?
Home Brew Club in Antelope Valley, California.
Okay.
And they were like the benevolent something homebrew. It was this whole thing. And there was a lot of them. I mean, lots. And a lot of these guys were working at some of the smaller microbreweries as well.
Yeah.
So they
Yep.
were brewing beer as for a job, but then they were doing it kind of as a hobby,
Yep.
kind of crafting their own stuff. And yeah, one of the guys that I met in that club, he actually started a brewery there in Palmdale, Palmdale, Lancaster,
Okay.
called Bravery Brewing. It's this whole thing. I guess his dad was into some business that sold like cabinetry or something, and they knew each other, all these other business owners around town, and people poo-pooed the idea. Oh, you can never put a brewery here. Nobody's ever going to come. Blah blah blah. There's probably half a dozen of them there now, small microbreweries. And
Yeah, I think
one of
anybody.
the oh, I
Go
was gonna say,
ahead.
yeah, one of the owners, one of the guys who fronted a bunch of the money, he was a friend of the family. Was you ever see the movie Full Metal Jacket?
Oh yeah.
Gunnery Sergeant Hartman
Hmm.
is played. That's Arlie Ermy. Arlie Ermy actually helped uh, pay for part of that building of that brewery.
Okay.
So they called it Bravery. And you go in there, there's a wall of Marines. And he's got the uniform in there from Full Metal Jacket and he's got a Marine Corps Harley Davidson
Okay.
parked in the corner. It was just kind of a neat place.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
but yeah,
Yeah, they all have
but
their own little themes that I like. That's what I like about them. But I think anybody that's ever brewed a batch of beer at home has had that thought when they make a really good batch or they
oh
dial in
yeah.
a recipe and they're like, "Oh, I think I could do this. I think I could do it
Hmm.
time, and I think I could do it professionally."
Yeah, it's crazy with like you work in an industry like beer, brewing, equipment, whatever. And then it's like you're doing certain things as a hobby. But then you find out it's like, oh crap, I gotta learn how to like market and like talk to people, sell myself.
I was just having this conversation with a tap truck up in Wisconsin or Washington, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
And we talked a lot about how being an entrepreneur, like you have to be so well rounded in what you know, and if you don't, you've got to find somebody that can round you out. So, like a lot of times, I'll talk to like my business partner Boyd and I, like we're the complete opposites, right? And so he's good at the things that I'm not good at, and vice versa. And that's what made us really good business partners and friends. So, like we've been friends for a long time.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But having somebody as that backup is amazing. And when you don't have that, you got to be well rounded. And if you can't, hire hire for your weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, that's important because like everybody knows most people should have pretty good grasp of their strong suits and where they're weak. And I guess the sign of a good manager or leader is knowing where all the strengths lie in the people that work for you or work under you, or even just friends. I mean,
Mhm.
like your partner. There's always someone out there that's gonna have an answer. Knowing who your people are and who you can, tap into to get the help you need
Yeah.
to, like you said, round you out.
Yep.
It's like, my wife Marla, she runs her own business and she helps me with Tap Truck as well. And I think we complement each other well because I'm very much the technical side of person. I'm kind of the face forward out there talking with people and building the relationships. But when it comes to day to day, just running the business or thinking ahead, like, you know, what do we have to do to, keep us, operating in the black? I'd like to get at least a gig or two a month,
Okay.
consistent. That would be great because then I can, justify putting gas in the truck or filling the CO2 bottle,
Hmm.
and most gigs will pay for that easy. I don't have a whole lot of overhead. It's actually a pretty good business to own. I mean, if you got the
Yeah.
capital up front to build the truck and outfit it the way you want, once you're once you've got that taken care of, it's really, I mean, you do a lot of stuff yourself, which we've done. I mean, I haven't hired anybody to do anything for me. Um, Although I do pay my friend Michael when he's like we're at a gig and he's bartending or whatever. I well, like if we have a tip jar or whatever, we split the tips or
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But I mean, he's one of those kind of guys that's like, don't pay me. He's like, he feels weird when I pay him. He's like, I'm your buddy. I'm like, no, dude, you're here. You're standing in the cold with
Yeah.
me. Like, yeah, you're gonna pay you for your time,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, think about it. It's like it's actually a pretty good business model as long as you're outgoing and don't mind putting yourself out there and you know, like I said earlier, I'm still trying to figure out how to kind of market myself, market this truck. Kind of going back to the beginning. That's kind of why I do this. I do it because it's fun. I didn't want to go into retirement. I mean, I'm 56 years. I'll be 57 this July, and I did not want to be working my butt off till the day I die, like my dad. But I didn't want to sit around doing nothing, because when you sit around and stare out the window all day long, y- you're gonna have all kinds of health problems.
Yeah.
So I like to stay active. I know I'm a hot rodder too, so
Okay.
having an old truck that I restored from the ground up, I've run into old guys all the time. They're like, "Oh, what year is this? 32, 34. 34." Or you get in these conversations, and next thing you know, the guy you're talking to, guys got last last gig I had, the guy had a barn full of antique cars,
Oh,
a barn,
wow.
all of them, like 100% restored to like factory new. And this guy's like 80 years old. And I'm thinking, like, in the back of my head, going, got any old trucks?
Yeah.
You can't take them with you, you know. But I figured, I could make connections and relationships that way too, because you just never know. Like, somebody I was talking to, retired old guy. I think he's military. He he's like he's like, I got an old truck. What do you think it cost me to do this? And I'm like, I told him what I had in it. He goes, "Oh, that's nothing." And I said, "Well," then he's like talking more, and he kept coming over, after
Mhm.
beer, the
Mhm.
conversation got a little more friendly or whatever.
Yeah.
And after a while, we were like, he's best friends with me. He's like, let's go into business together. And I'm like, I find that people that I run into were like, what's it take for me to get into this, or how can I get involved in this? And I was like, well, it's not difficult. I actually, considered maybe taking on another, like a partner or something. Like if somebody wanted to, kind of come out and get involved and, you know, put some stake in the game. Like my buddy Tyler, the guy I got the truck from. He's got a 31 Ford panel delivery that his grandfather taught him how to drive in. Well, he will never give that thing up.
Mm.
And I said, well, why don't you turn it into a tap truck, still be your truck, but then we can, use it for gigs and can make a little money with it and have some fun. You know, he's a social guy, but he doesn't he's got too much going on with his life right now to get more irons on the fire, if you will. So
Yeah.
he did
Yeah. Right. It's about bandwidth at that point.
right.
You going into retirement, and you're like, I want to work a couple weekends a month. It's fun
Hmm.
when it's, um, you could probably be as busy as you wanted, right? Once, you're a year down the road, you could be busy every weekend. But, if you're just looking to do something every couple of weeks, you can
Right.
book out pretty far and, keep that work life balance that you want as you get older and as you do, retire. It sounds like a good plan to me. When you get guys around classic cars and draft beer, like what could be better, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean we were in the our little town that we live in here in River Oaks. They had a Christmas parade, holiday parade, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna put some lights on the truck. I'm gonna drive in the parade. Because there's a few old guys here in town that have some old classic cars, and they put lights all over them and drive them in the parade and have fun, have a good time, just kind of hang out and just be sociable, And we did that, and we showed up, and the guy who organizes the parade every year, he took one look at our truck. He heard about the truck, but he hadn't seen it. He goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "This is the truck? This is Tap Truck?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I've been trying to tell you. And he goes, "Man." Well, his boss is the mayor of River Oaks. So
Okay.
this guy, but he had yet to see it. He heard about the truck, but he'd never seen it. So we show up to the Christmas parade, and he's like, "Man," he goes, "I got to rethink this parade." He goes, "I already got Santa riding in a sleigh on the back of a flatbed." He goes, "I'm going to put you right in front of Santa." I was like, "All right." So here we are in front of Santa Claus, cruising the mean streets of River Oaks. And there must have been probably a couple of thousand people out just hanging out on the street, watching us drive by and waving to Santa. And we got the old Ooga horn, like honking the horn. And of course, the fire engine's right behind us blasting the siren. But it's just like stuff like that. You get out there and people see you, and you got other people like, "Hey, I have a family barbecue I do every year at my family's ranch. I think we'll have you guys out." Or I was like, "Yeah, I mean, why not? You rent the truck, you get the truck for 3 hour minimum. Usually me and my buddy show up, or whoever feels like helping me. We're TACB certified here in Texas, so
Okay.
we can serve alcohol
Does that mean you can
and
sell it as well?
not here in Texas. You got to have a liquor and beer license for that. So we
Okay.
don't. Way we get around that in Texas is it's totally legal. The way it works is that basically people are just renting us as mobile bartenders, and then they pay for their beverages. We don't. They're not buying it from us. They're basically buying it from whoever the supplier may be. So if it's a beer
Yeah.
distributor or whatever, and that gets invoiced separately. So basically, we're just picking it up for them, tapping it, and providing it at their event.
Okay. So you
So
can even pick it up.
yeah, because they're trying to find a place to deliver it. Good luck. Yeah, this hasn't worked that well, but I got a place in Arlington that made a good relationship with this guy. It's called Cool Kegs. I mean, this place is hundreds of kegs on in the coolers all the time, and they're tap house too, so they've always got some kind of probably got like 100 beers on tap at this place. But this guy and I call him up, say, "Hey, I need a keg of whatever." Just tell the person who's buying it, they take care of it, and it works out well because we were talking about costs too. People on a budget, for a wedding or barbecue or whatever, typical bar tab at say a 3 or 4 hour wedding reception is what's that going to run you if you got a couple hundred people? You're going to be $50,000 bar tab maybe, but you have a tap truck come out for 1,200 bucks for 3 hours,
Yeah.
and you're getting a keg of beer at cost, from the distributor or the provider because you can't buy beer directly from the distributor. They buy it from this other small company, but Cool Kegs. But I mean, it's like average is like 150 bucks for a half barrel of beer. On Shiner, Michelob Ultra, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, that's what most of the people around here drink. That I've seen lately. Haven't really had any specialty beers that have been requested just yet.
Yeah. A lot of them people are going back to the just the light beers. It's
Yeah.
that trend. It
Hmm.
constantly is flowing, but it's we're getting back towards the light beers.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think the heaviest thing I served here was I've done the Shiner Bock. People love that here in Texas. Dos Equis. But I do signature cocktails as well. So like I have different offerings. I'm still working on a menu. But one right now I have working on a couple different sangria ideas. because oh, this goes into another conversation. So, we get folks that want wine at these weddings or whatever event. And what we found out pretty quickly is, you get a couple kegs of beer. Most people that drink beer are going to drink whatever you have on tap.
Hmm.
You know, they're not going to turn it down. But you put a bottle of, like, say, Chardonnay on tap, and because the bride or the bride's mother wanted what's that one with Martha Stewart, Chardonnay. It's terrible.
Hmm.
I tried it. I'm like, that people drink this? I'm like, it's like $20 a bottle, right? So now
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, I want this wine. And so I tried to do it in smaller quantities. I did smaller cornies at like a 2.5 gallon corny. It's a lot of bottles of wine.
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah.
And what we found out is you'd serve like two glasses the whole night,
Hmm.
and then the rest goes down the drain
Yeah.
because it's like folks just paid for all that wine. And it's like, and none of it's going to get drank. And I can't just give it to them, take it with them. It's going to go bad. So it's interesting. So that's where we started thinking about like signature cocktails. We do a margarita that's people rave about. It's very
And then you
craft
tap
made.
that, right? You tap
Yeah,
it.
tap, put on tap. Yeah.
Yep.
And put on tap. I do 5 gallon batches
Okay.
and cornies. I make it myself. Um, and depending on what type of spirit they want in it, give them a choice there. But keep the cost down. I mean, a lot of it's so good it doesn't even really matter what kind of tequila is in it,
Hmm.
which is nice. But then we talked about doing sangrias and one of the signature cocktails, fun things you'd want to have at a wedding, a
Yeah.
reception, or event because of wines they just go to waste
Yeah. My
because it's
my
so
daughter got
subjective.
married last year, and I was in charge of all the beer and wine. It was just beer and wine. So we had like 8 sixtels from all the local different breweries around here. So we had 8 beers on tap, and then I went to Costco and I bought a bunch of boxed wine, and I
Hmm.
think I bought 12 or 15 boxes of wine, and I think we went through one,
Mm.
might have went through one box of wine.
Yeah, it just it's really it's what I'm looking for, subjective, or it's a very palate specific thing,
Yeah.
you know, because not everybody who likes this type of Chardonnay is going to like that kind of Chardonnay, or like this one last wedding I did. I had a really nice Robert Mondavi Merlot aged in like sherry casks. I mean, it was fruity, kind of a little sweet, but still dry as a Merlot. I mean, it was good. It was pretty good stuff. The lady who wanted it, that's what she wanted, but nobody else was drinking it, you know? And she wanted like, it was like, ended up being like a case and a half of wine left
Yeah.
over. I was like, well, I don't, what, glug, 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 down the drain it
Yeah.
goes. It's just too
Like
bad,
getting
but
the it's like getting the diet Mountain Dew for the one person in your family that drinks it, and they're just going to drink the one can and be
yeah,
done with
it
it.
just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started, really thinking about that kind of stuff, the offerings. And there's a lot of this, movement as craft cocktail thing is become quite more and more people are wanting that at their private events, which, going to a bar is one thing, getting like a old fashioned made with whatever, or the Manhattan or, that kind of stuff. It's like it's a lot easier when you got all the different bottles and mixers and things like that at a bar. But for the mobile thing, it's tough. But so I've been looking at some of the different trends that are going on in the, mobile bar scene, if you will.
Yeah.
There's another tap truck I've been following. I need to reach out to them because they were starting to do that kind of thing where they paired up with like a local mixologist
Hmm.
that had all these different craft cocktails and garnishes and things. Like they had these like toasted orange slices and things with like, you know, different ideas with like mint juleps and taking some of the classics and making more of a modern take on them.
Yeah, it's funny that you
You
say
know?
that because my conversation with Michelle up at Tipsy Trailer up in Washington, we were just talking about this too. Like she's saying more people are leaning more towards the classic mixed drinks, the classic cocktails.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's you got to think about most of the things that people drink at the bars these days. It's all stuff that's been around since, 20s, 30s,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and at that
A
point, you
lot.
probably could just, if you've got your top, 8 or 10, classic cocktail recipes that you've got available, and then that
Hmm.
you can batch them really easy, and you've got your 5 gallon batch recipe down.
Hmm.
There's probably not a ton of other work that you got to put into it once you've got it, right?
Yeah. No, it's not difficult at all. I mean, I have, if somebody wants to margarita, know exactly how many of this and that I have to buy, and I know exactly, what ingredient that I'm going to use. I've kind of got it down to a science, so I know exactly what I need. It's pretty easy to make. It's like
Yeah.
I make my own simple syrup. It's literally a box of sugar in the raw, and I have one of those in a 5 gallon keg along with the limes and everything, lime juice. And
Mm.
I don't like some of those pre-made margarita mixes. They tend to be a very heavy on the acidic side,
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
and I don't know about you, but that's hard for my stomach can't handle some of that stuff. That citric
Yeah.
acid.
As
Just
soon as you said pre-made margarita, I was like, oh, acid,
yeah, oh yeah, and then you got heartburn the whole
heartburn
night
city.
until the following morning when you try to go to bed that night. It's like
Yeah.
it's like you want to put a sign next to my margarita. It's like, yeah, no heartburn ever.
Well, Paul,
But
it sounds like you've got a plan for the future here for 2025, and you're dialing things in. You're getting your batch cocktail recipes down. You you've got your go-to place to buy kegs. You've There's 4 taps on that, or how many
I
taps
have
did you put?
six. I
You have
have
six.
six.
Okay. So you offer six, but are you seeing people that want all six, or does it? How many are you seeing on a typical event? I know you just started, so you probably
Yeah.
don't have a ton of data to back it up, but how many taps are people normally how many normally are you serving?
So right now it's been between 4 and 5 pretty
Okay.
regularly. I probably could have got away with just doing four, but my whole thing is I wanted to be able to do the beers, and then like I have one of my taps I dedicate mostly to just water. Like
Okay.
I serve water out, chilled water,
Mhm.
or some kind of NA offering. I'll have like a tea or lemonade or something, whatever, give them an option.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I don't charge them extra for that. Like I'll have if they're getting the truck for me and they've want one, say they've got like 4 kegs, 5 kegs on tap and they want like a non-alcoholic, I throw in a keg of soda, like Coca-Cola or whatever they want, Pepsi or Sprite or whatever. I just kind of make that as part of the package, because I'm not losing any money there. I
Yeah.
don't make any money off the beverages. It's all, made off of the truck, and if people were generous enough to leave tips. Six, and it's funny because 6 taps is cool until you try to start figuring out where to put all those kegs.
Yeah. Accessories are half barrels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can barely fit 5 half barrels in the back of the truck. I found that out there at that big Arlington backyard gig because they wanted all 6 taps.
Mm.
And so I have the big cooler bags, the keg bags. So I had 2 or 3 of those out on the ground, like behind the truck. Yeah, just to, hit them back there.
Yeah.
Um, and, it worked out fine. I mean, it would be kind of cool to be able to have it all enclosed, and be able to drive up and be ready to go. But logistically, it's a little more difficult when you get that many.
Yeah.
And then, if I was dealing with all sixtels, I could probably do it a lot easier. And that's something I've been thinking about too. It's like a lot of these events, you try to do the math ahead of time. Like, okay, they got this many people, and you try to estimate like how many people are going to drink beer, how many are going to drink this, and it's like it's difficult. And maybe this is something you can help me with. or I can kind of reach out to some of the other tap truck folks, but it's hard to just say, okay, well, every guest on an average is going to drink what, 3 or 4 beers, 12, 16 ounce cups. It's like you try to estimate, but no matter how well you do the math, there's always beer left over.
Yeah.
You always have a lot
Always.
left over.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's great if I'm having a backyard barbecue at my place the following weekend, because I have that for myself before I take the keg back to
Yeah.
the keg guy.
Yep.
But it's just
Yeah,
like,
even the breweries struggle with it. Like at the beer
mm,
festivals that we go to, right? They load up and they got no idea.
yeah,
There's a very large beer festival here every year, off the shores of Lake Michigan. It's called Burning
mm,
Foot. And every year, once like it starts at like 1 or 2, and before the sun even goes down, most of the breweries are out of beer, and they're all kind of packing up, and because there's a concert going on at the same time, and so they just
okay,
kind of slowly close up shop, and then they go enjoy the concert and stuff like that too. But that's really the only beer festival that we've ever been to that where people actually run out, because
wow,
typically people just breweries, as they're they've got backups, right?
yeah. The
It's
oh, go ahead.
I
Did you
would
say
just say
something?
it's just yeah, you can guess, but it's always that's what it is, right? It's just a guess.
It is, yeah. You try to make the best estimation you can, but it's really tough because you don't really know how many people, especially if you got like more than a couple of kegs on tap.
Yeah.
Everybody's. I mean, it's tough. You got the one guy that all he drinks is, Mick Ultra. You know, but then he's like gets tired of that and wants to switch to something else. That's pretty rare. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen anyway. But
Well, Paul,
yeah.
where can people find you?
Well, people can find me pretty easy. It's just taptruckfortworth.com. It's the same on my Facebook and Instagram as well. Soon to be TikTok when I get some video content that I can work with.
Yeah.
Um, been trying to think of some fun things to do. I actually want to do a burnout with the truck, like old
Oh, that's a
classic,
good
like
idea. Yeah.
roasting the tires in the smoke,
Yeah.
and then have me coming out of the smoke with like the beer and the truck like peeling off.
I like that.
Be
That's a
kind of
good
fun,
TikTok.
you know?
It's its own world, right? I
Right.
don't I don't get into it. My business partner Boyd handles all of our TikTok account, but
Yeah.
um it's we've had videos that have gone viral a couple of times. We've got a few videos on ours that have got like 3 million views on it. And it
Yeah. Isn't it crazy
uh,
how that happens? It's like,
yeah.
I need that. I need some of that, you know? And then, of course, there's our email. I mean, it's just taptruckfortworth at gmail.com or cowtownqueen at gmail.com.
Well, I'm glad you came on today. I've been looking forward to this, and
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
yeah, I got to get down to Fort Worth. I've flown through Texas, just on a
Okay.
layover. I've never been to it. I've hit a lot of the U.S. Well, when I get down to Fort Worth, we're gonna come say hi. We're gonna grab dinner or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Come on by. That'd be great to
Yeah,
see you guys and treat you to some good old Texas barbecue.
yeah, I would love that. And that whole world is very appealing to me. I grew up in the like I'm from kind of mid northern Michigan. I grew up in the woods. Grew up watching westerns.
The whole cowboys and ranchers thing is
Yes,
like, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is pretty much, I mean, you think about it, think of the old West, this is where a lot of it began, you know. Anybody trying to make their mark or stake their claim.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate it again, Paul.
Yeah,
And
you're
again,
welcome.
if you need anything from me, we are always here. And yeah, appreciate it.